let's take a look at the game systems and start describing my personal experience with them, starting with the guns first. The guns feel good to shoot, they do. They look good while shooting, and their sound design is pretty punchy and satisfying all throughout the arsenal, especially with the heavy cannon. But something about how they interacted with the enemies for me felt off. It felt like they didn't do enough damage, especially the shotgun, and the feedback from the enemies was much less effective in conveying the damage I was doing compared to how Doom Eternal went about it. Couple that with the movement being so much slower than it was in Eternal, and the movement options being so much more scarce, and you've got the fact that I had much less to combat rapidly advancing enemies than I did in Doom Eternal. Glory killing left me as a sitting duck because I had no dash to immediately reposition from any incoming projectiles. The lack of a dash also meant that the demons had a much easier time predicting my movements than in Eternal, so I couldn't make split-second reactions like in Eternal, which led to damage and deaths that I could see, but I just didn't have the capabilities to get away from. I felt like I couldn't be anywhere near as aggressive as I can be in Eternal because the enemies did so much damage and there were no safety nets, so the game just felt like it was complete BS sometimes, and throwing myself at an encounter over and over again seemed to come down to luck as to whether I won it, because sometimes the enemies would do something and sometimes they wouldn't, and I just didn't have as much control over the fight in the arena as I do in Eternal. Do you see the problem here? So fellas, I don't know if you're aware of this, but Doom 2016 is in fact not Doom Eternal. I knew this. I went into the game telling myself that. Yet I played the game like Eternal regardless. That is, until I had my encounter with this imp, Bordernathul, and he graced me with the swipe of enlightenment. Now, the astute among you may realize that this is the first level of the game, and it is, in fact, the first level of the game. But it is also during my second playthrough of the game on Nightmare difficulty, hence why this event took place 26.5 hours after I first started up the game. But that begs the question, why now? What made Bordernathul so different from the dozens of other imps that killed me like Gorantek, Phobosian, and Pablo Diego Jose Francisco de Paula Juan Nepomuceno Crispin Crispiniana Maria Remedios de la Santísima Trinidad Reyes Picasso? Well, that's simple. Bordernathul killed me in such a way that was entirely foreseeable, entirely avoidable, and entirely, obviously, undoubtedly, my fault. I advanced on him, and he punished me with a melee swipe, and that's when I realized what was going wrong. I never once treated a single enemy in this game with the respect that they deserve. You see, in Doom Eternal, you are given the luxury to get all up in an enemy's personal space and then just get out super quickly when they get all uppity about it. You can frickin' barrel stuff a Baron and then just be on the other side of the map in a matter of mere seconds. In Doom 2016, you don't have such an ability. If you get close to an enemy, you better be intending for that enemy to be dead upon your next trigger pull or pacified at the very least. If neither of those conditions are met, you will be facing the consequences of not properly social distancing. Not just that though, since you can't get out of the way of projectiles on a moment's notice in this game, you have to keep tabs on everything that's shooting at you, and pay much more attention to how you're moving and positioning yourself in relation to them. Are you far enough away so that you can see them coming and dodge in time? Will dodging bring you into another projectile? What enemies should you get out of the way first to lower the amount of projectiles coming at you? See, I had no control over the fights in the arena because I was playing 2016 through the lens of having to manage myself, my ammo, my health, my armor, resources, etc., but that's just not the case. Ammo is pretty much already figured out for you, and trying to manage health and armor doesn't mean much if 3 attacks will end up killing you anyways. Eternal has you focusing on yourself, and in keeping yourself topped up, your enemies will fall naturally as they are your primary source of resources, and I feel that applies to pretty much every enemy in the game that isn't a super heavy, in which case all your attention pretty much has to go to them. Doom 2016 has you managing your enemies, and doing that effectively is what will keep you topped up since they passively drop ammo already, and if you kill them before they have a chance to kill you, then you don't even have to worry about your health and armor. I mean, you still do since you likely aren't going to be playing perfectly, but that's not your main goal in this game. While Doom Eternal has a loop that I would say is frantic, 2016 has one that I would call methodical. And again, this all relates to the higher difficulties like Nightmare. I highly doubt this would all hold the same weight if I was on a lower one. The tools you're given in 2016 corroborate this philosophy in my opinion. The chainsaw being able to remove high value demons, the stun bomb from the plasma rifle, which I didn't use until the end of my first playthrough, so put that in for another point on the self-sabotage scale, and runes like the Rich Get Richer and ammo boost. And all of this gathered from a single imp, giving me a death that I could have avoided if I just followed that gameplay philosophy. So that being said, how does that look in practice?